Aleinu is a vision of what will be. Kaddish, which comes next, is a vision of the value of life and what has passed, an affirmation that each and every life is of meaning. This is an appropriate place then to share a vision of where we are going as a congregation. Last night, our president, Marcia Bellows, made a brief mention of the tremendous success of both our capital campaign and building project. As Marcia informed us, New Heights, our capital campaign, has achieved 80% of its fundraising goals. That success has allowed us to finance the current building project that has been ongoing and strip down our annex building, 127th Street, to its barest bones, secure and rebuild its floors, its internal structures, and the backyard. Over the summer, we also did major work in the cellar and the third and fourth floors of 131 Remsen Street, as well as renovating the bathrooms on the upper levels. Future fire-rated walkthroughs between the two buildings were opened on each floor, then sealed up to be finished next summer. All of this has taken place in the midst of COVID, and much of the work during the operation of the BHS preschool. It borders on the miraculous. When we finish next fall, we will have two interconnected buildings with new security, a new entrance, expanded utilization, especially of our second floor social space. We look forward finally to hosting events that can comfortably seat 150 people, if not more. For brisses, baby namings, bar and bat mitzvahs, weddings, and much more, this represents a significant expansion and response to the needs and the desires of our growing community. As many of you know, our aspirations at BHS are big, even though we're in a little space. But we are also a responsible community. When Deb and I made our first, and at the time the largest ever pledge we'd made to any charitable undertaking, it was to an earlier campaign to renovate what was still mostly a men's eating club, the Brooklyn Club that BHS had purchased and just moved into. None of our kids were yet conceived. Years later, Michael, Alex, and Rissa, now on the scene, we decided to join the Growing Together campaign that allowed us to purchase 127 Remsen Street and very modestly renovate a single lower floor for classrooms. When the time came 4 years ago, and we saw as a community that we could not let 4 floors of 127 continue to sit empty, Deb and I, after much consideration and review, stretched and pledged and joined the BHS New Heights Capital campaign. Michael, Alex, and Rissa are years past their brisses, baby namings, bar, bat mitzvah. Michael is now a college sophomore, and Alex and Rissa, high school seniors, beginning their own applications for college. Deb and I decided to join the campaign not simply or even primarily because I am and have been the rabbi of BHS these past 24 years, although of course that is an element. But not every congregational rabbi does, by the way. We decided to join and participate in the campaign for 3 reasons. 1, BHS needed our participation. 2, we had resources, and we wanted to be good role models for our friends, our community, and other members of the congregation. And 3, because of my grandfather. Some of you have heard this story before, so please forgive me. Sam Lipschitz was born somewhere near Grodno in 1905, and he was snuck into this country somewhere across the Canadian border by his mom, my great-grandmother Lena. He found in America a land of opportunity, but also of discrimination and anti-Semitism. He met and married my grandmother, Ray Berkowitz, and together they had 3 kids. Their oldest, Nina, my aunt who just passed away 2 weeks ago, Thank you for all of you who've sent condolences. It's been a very hard loss. My dad, Michael, who died when I was a boy, and the youngest of them, Maxine, who died in the 1980s. They were all born Lipschitz. My grandpa Sam opened a shoe store where he sold various lines, including hush puppies, which I wore as a youngster. At some time in my dad's childhood, Sam decided to change the family name to the less Jewish-sounding Lip. And here I am today as Rabbi Lip. I'm not sure it made such a great difference, but that's another conversation for another day. At some point in my childhood, between crawling under my grandparents' Seder tables at Passover and receiving Eisenhower silver dollars for each night of Hanukkah, I must have overheard, I think far more than once, my grandfather Sam's wisdom regarding supporting synagogues. As a Jew in New York City back in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, Mr. Lipschitz's membership and money was undesired and certainly unwelcome in many organizations and institutions in this great city, but not at a synagogue. The synagogue, as my grandpa Sam would tell it, had to accept his membership, and they had to take his money because he was a Jew. Imagine. And because of this, my grandfather felt a loyalty and an obligation to the community and the institution. It was not a perfect relationship for sure. That's another conversation for another day. But that sense of loyalty and obligation never waned. That story has inspired me since I was a young child, and of course it had some role in my choice of career and profession. So this morning I know I'm already preaching to the choir, expanded, as it were. We have weathered the pandemic far better than many other local synagogues. Our membership numbers dipped but did not crash, and we already are seeing applications for new members. When all of us showed up to join BHS, we know there was already a community here, there was an institution, and there was a building, at least for most of us. It had been established by the generation or generations that came before us. They did not establish the Brooklyn Heights Synagogue just for themselves or just for their time frame. Like my grandfather Sam, they knew they were creating something for future generations, a legacy for the Jewish people here in Brownstone, Brooklyn, and in New York City. As of today, roughly 1/3 of our membership has joined the BHS New Heights Capital campaign by making a multi-year pledge. Thank you, thank you, thank you. In doing so, as Marcia Bellows mentioned, we have raised remarkably 80% of the funds needed to complete our project. And as I said, that's allowed us to finance and start the remarkable construction undertaking you can see safely from the sidewalk when you walk by 127 Remsen Street. If you haven't done it, today's a beautiful day. But we need to finish our fundraising efforts and raise the last 20%, which is under $2 million, to be pledged out over the next 5 years. We are a congregation currently of 465 family member units, more or less. I want to personally invite those amongst the 2/3 of the BHS membership who have not yet joined the campaign to please do so in 5,782. Today's the first day. I realize that because of COVID and other factors, some of us are honestly still not in any position to do so at the moment. But as I mentioned in my sermon last evening, whether by luck or by resource or both, Many of us have made it through the last 18 months securely. Some of us are even doing better than expected. So please, please, if that is your case and you've been putting off joining the campaign, now is the time. We need you. If you'd be interested in speaking with our chairs, Susan Chaddock, Susan, stand up, please, and Dave Smetana. Dave, are you here or are you online? I think Dave is, stand up on Zoom, Dave. I know they would welcome your email or call or text. And remember, Lipschitz or lip, it doesn't matter. We have to take your contribution.